Hello everyone. To start off today's tutorial, I want to go into a little bit of a tangent. I would like to express that you have in mind your pose if you are going to be sculpting in Zbrush for your hair. Instead of rigging it, I would maybe sculpt the hair in pose. It is possible to tweak it, and I can go over that. I sometimes will start in pose as you see here, or sorry, in T-pose, A-pose, and then tweak it in Zbrush to get like a nice final pose. I also did the same here. This is more so to do with long hair. You can see I started off with it in a straight A pose, and then I moved into this pose you see here. It is possible, and you can get pretty clean results. I would just express that maybe if you don't want to do this part of the process, you have in mind your pose and then sculpt in that. And without further ado, I would like to get started. Continue off a previous tutorial I made with Griffith about face modeling. I wanted to start with this as the example because I think it's a really good example of curly long hair, which can be difficult in general. I'm going to use the same brush I always use, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I already have a hair cap you see here, and I already have some strands. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to start from the beginning, but just so what you're clear on what we're going to make, we're going to be making this like hair cap thing, and this is just what we're going to use as our base like shape. So now that I've made Griffith bald, because he deserves it, I will be, ooh, that's cool, funny. Anyway, I'm going to draw with mask. I'm going to hit control and then mask out the bangs. I sometimes like to do things in parts. For example, Griffith's hair on the references, he has bangs. He has like several tiers to his hair, so you can see like he has these pieces here and this back part, the bangs, and just based off of like able to control it, I want to make it in parts. So I'm going to make some, hit extract, and then hit accept. If you're wondering where extract is, it's right here in the tool menu right at the bottom. And then I'm going to clear the mask and then plate. I'm going to color it with C, Control Shift F, which is my hotkey for fill object. Make sure it's on RGB, otherwise it'll fill with the material as well, and I don't like doing that. So let's see, we have our bangs. I'm just smoothing it out, and then I would like to do, I'm gonna add this little subdivision. I don't really need it, but you can if you want to. And then what you want to do with this part is then sculpt the kind of flow of the hair. So these are the bangs, so they're going to start here and then come out down this way. I have that, but the thing I want to make clear for my later self is that there are these little pieces that come down. You don't have to do this. I like to be as clear as possible for myself, and I can show you an example. So for Tyler's hair here, I actually had a ton of difficulty, and on the hair cap I sculpted, it's pretty detailed. You can see I did a ton of marks here on like where I wanted certain pieces to go. So I wanted these to be going in this direction, these to be like the straight like sideburn piece, and this is actually a separate piece here because when you have these closer hairs, you want to make that adjustment. Also, we can go over beards later too. I think that will be a good little bonus content, but just so you're aware of how detailed these can be, I still have this in place here. Like this is the base that I Z-remeshed and then sculpted on top of, and then sculpted like lines, and like this is where it separates here and where it spikes up, and yeah. All right. Oh, another thing too is sometimes the hair on the sides can be so short that you don't want to even include hair pieces. So sometimes I'll just paint the skin color. This was done very quickly and is of course not game ready, but it is gives the illusion that the hair has been shaved down to the short roots, because you don't want to be too busy. You don't want to, for Tyler's, it makes sense to have these here because his hair is longer here based off the references, whereas Silco's is of course like very close to his head. All right, but you can disregard that for the longer hair pieces. For the longer hair, of course, you're not going to have any like close to the skin pieces, so you don't have to worry about that, but just in case for future reference. So now I'm going to make this long piece here. I'm going to just draw this simple line and then extract again and then accept. And then I'm going to, since it is symmetrical, I'm keeping symmetry on for now. I'm going to inflate a little bit. Pull it around. And you want to kind of understand like hair parts. If you don't really, it's kind of difficult. I've cut my hair a number of times, so by myself. or had people do it, and or if you do cosplay wigs, it makes sense, like where the hair, like certain haircuts have certain like hair dividing, but if you don't have this, then you can just watch like barber videos, or just look at the image and break it down, so you can really see it on this like flow direction here. No, hold on. Let me give an example. But there are certain like growth patterns and certain places where barbers will cut. So there's a back piece here. I think it starts from here. The sideburns and different hair will lay different ways. So I recommend having like a whole repertoire like I have here. Like I have medium, short, long, curly, and that curly needs to be expanded. I've gotten like cornrow, afro so far. This is all my Patreon, by the way, but these are important to have because you can see on this one from Andrea Pires, I believe that's how you say his name, but you can see like the shaved part here, and that's just where the hairdresser will choose to mark, or where you part. Like if you've ever done a middle part, or if you've ever done a side part, that's where typically it will be cut. And the back of the head too. So this one, he's very messy, so I didn't bother, but you know, that's pretty much just combed over. You gotta think about like how the hair is like brushed, or like if there's gel in it, if there's like here it's slick back, if it's, you know, maybe it's a bit more flyaway. Like Griffith is just pretty basic. He gives the impression to me of someone who looks very beautiful, but doesn't take too much care, so there isn't going to be too much care on my end on like how defined the part is. So it'll be very, very loosely based on his one. So there's this line here, but it doesn't really matter. So this starts the back of the head, and I just separate it because it's just easier to control. You don't want to break this one up, but I'm making this will be the back piece. Extract, accept, coloring it this color. Just for the sake of the tutorial, it doesn't really matter. Oh, I'm gonna hide the armor. Although the armor or any pieces can help you determine like if you're having troubles with the hair. And I recommend making a separate folder for the hair as well. Wait, let me finish dragging this out. I'm getting distracted, guys. Inflate. And you want a kind of big, like you want it to be thick here when you draw the curves on, because if it's too thin or if it's only one side, it will be, the curve brush might think it won't draw on top of this, and it'll give you an error or like a weird result. So make sure it's thick. Again, this isn't the final mesh, this is just a base. Here, don't worry if you hate it, but try to get it as close to the reference as possible. So for this one, I don't really have any plans, but this one, I just want to demonstrate the long hair, controlling. This will be short and then some long hair pieces. How about that? Get a nice mix. And make it long. I kind of want to pull more up front forward. I think that would be really interesting if I did a little head turn. So I might do that. I might pull more here. So I'm just pulling this, and I'm going to go in backface mask on the move. I think it would be really cool to like a really nice curly haired, kind of like this one I have on my reference. I'll Google the artist and put their name here, but I really like this over the shoulder kind of turn. I think Griffith will be a really playful character with that, especially in this era, having some go down this way. What I did with power, as you can see here, but yeah, it's about the same. Well, there's even more here. They look very similar. I mean, it's a very common pose, just hair. Is this Griffith the one I was working on? There he is. Yeah, you did a ton of references. Take your time with this part. I'm kind of rushing. You don't have to take too long. Dynamesh it. It really is up to you. Backface mask. See, this is like too thin here, so I'm making everything thick. And then make sure you I'm gonna hide the armor. So it's good to hide the armor so you can see what you're doing with the hair, but it's also good to bring it back, so that's why I use the folder system, and that helps a lot. So keep that in mind for the final pose. And I think his hair is like a bit more volume as well here. Uses like a nice shampoo. That's a volume. What's a curl? And again, we can tweak it later. Oh yeah, and for the hair, I recommend making it in a separate folder just in case you need to go in and like edit the face, like I will probably be doing, because the ears are weird. Again, I'm moving these down, and then what you do, I'm just clicking and dragging down, you, with the top one selected, I'm gonna hit Control F and then name it hair and then put these under. And so now I can edit that weird ear I saw right here. Like, okay, and I was rushing to the tutorial so it doesn't look as clean. And this is all needs to be smooth. Anyway, that's an example of like why you should do that. Oh, and another thing, I saw this drawing. I usually use fan art too, because I love this, like how they interpret the different hair, and I'll go into this later, but this flyaway is really cute. And then I recognized that I didn't what I had before. It was kind of tucked in. I want it to be pulled out this way. He's got so much beautiful hair here, and I didn't get the silhouette right at the front. Yeah, make sure you're turning on all angles and getting as much reference as you can, whether that's fan art or I think this is user not found, but there's so many like things you could pull from, like statues and whatnot, that I think I like to pull from fan art too, but not heavily. I like to make one or two strands, just because it sometimes I like the artist's interpretation, or you'll see later when I do like the flow. Continuing what I talked about earlier, where I am sculpting on the hair mesh, it's not very pretty. You don't have to make it be beautiful, gorgeous, but you do have to get the general shape that you want to create with the hair pieces. Here I am sculpting like I did before for the following the flow of the hair, making sure to, you know, manipulate every angle, reiterating what I said over and over again. Oh, and here's my hairbrush that I use. If you would like to get that, or you can use whatever brush you desire. Link is below. For a little preface on hairbrush different than other one else's. I kind of don't see anyone else adding creases to their brush, so let me show you after I draw it out. Split unmasked. To zoom in on the brush itself and hit Shift F to show the wireframe. You can see that there are these dotted lines along this mesh, and what that is when I divide up, you get these creases, and without a crease is basically like imaginary edge loop. It's what other programs use to create the illusion of sharp edges. It's basically like a formula. It's not actually adding the edge loops, but it is telling the computer to, hey, render this with a sharp to it. So what that means is that there are certain things you can do with this that you can't do without. So if I just uncrease all, crease, you can see it gives this sort of smoothness to the mesh. Usually in order to counteract this, we'll sculpt on top of it to create this sharpness. But it is kind of hard to keep it clean. This method, I like to do things with the geometry in mind, and that's why I add creases to my stuff. But you can do this method. I can also edit mine to do that, but I prefer not to. I prefer to keep it using the geometry to keep it clean. You're like, I got these really nice clean edges here, and whatever I need to edit, I usually do with the geometry and not with sculpting on top of it, because I'm already sculpting a lot already. So I try to keep things, if I can, using geometry. And another thing with my brush that it's kind of like a little guide right now, but what you want to do is to split unmasked, split this after you draw it off, and then Control W to delete to basically auto group. And you can see it's kind of lumpy, but it's a really easy fix. I mask out the ends and then polish by features, and then I get this really smooth look to it. And then what I also like to do for a ton of hair pieces is I go with move brush and hit backface mask, and that is in the brush auto masking backface mask menu. And what this does is create this really nice hair piece that I will use across the entire model, and that's how I get thickness on those. Yeah, and the creases, and you can also change the creaseness level if you don't like it super strong, so you can change that there. And you can also hit this little thing here, this little button, will make it even smoother. Also, AccuCurve is a adjustment similar to backface mask move brush, and if I have a move brush selected, if I hold this, I can manipulate it a bit differently. It's see how it's like pulling it to a point. because there's a curve adjustment to this, and that's what's causing it to, I believe it's in here, but I use the default. So a little preface on hair curve brushes in Zbrush. If you don't know anything about them, they are a one-time thing. So once this thing is gone, you can't change anything about the brush. You can sculpt on it and like move things that way, but in general, once this stroke is gone, you can't. It's a destructive process. So keep that in mind. So it follows the surface of the mesh. So usually that's why I was so adamant about you creating that hair base, is because that's what you will be using as a guide. And in this case, I wanted to inform you on some of the things in Zbrush that can help you edit the stroke if you want to. So I know how to make a brush in Zbrush, and I can add that guide to the bottom here. But for a brief overview of some things I know, I have edited the curve fall off to be a bit heavier at the beginning and then sort of bump out the end with some with the very thin tip. So it changes based off of the size of the brush as well, but you can see it more longer pieces, shorter. But it's not going to be as dramatic because you don't have as many edges, so you're not going to see it as well. But that is the basics of the brush. You have the curve, the shape of the brush, then you have snap and bend, so you can basically lock the start of the mesh, and you can see how it's not moving the start, or you can lock the end and you can move the start of it if it'll work. There you go. Move it. Lock end. And it's not working for some reason, but regardless, that's how that works. Maybe if I turn that off. Anyway, those are some things I can use to edit. You can also go into none of these don't edit anything. Okay, so it's just these. You have other modifiers in here. I recommend kind of knowing some of these. It's pretty basic compared to, like, say, making a 2D brush, in my opinion. I have a better understanding. Oh, and if you ever, say, like, click off the model, say if you're like, oh, you forget to split and, like, delete the stroke, it will sometimes still remain. It's not doing it right now, but let me just show you. Try to recreate. So if I insert... Oh, and you don't want to have subdivisions when you draw, so I did divide this cube up. General, if you do have subdivisions, Zbrush will remind you. So I have subdivisions now. It will say this mesh is composed of multiple subdivision levels. Delete the subdivision. So I usually like to divide up and then delete, because you want a higher subdivision for drawing on this stuff. So you can see how I started working on another mesh, and I've left the curve on. And maybe I split unmasked, and the curve is still there on this mesh, but you're like, how do I get rid of that? Well, you just go into stroke and then delete curve right here. So stroke, delete curve, and that gets rid of it. Also, you're allowed to use these frame mesh features. So let's say if I had, rough example, but so I have these polygroups now. So if I want to frame the polygroups, you can, software has aligned the curve to the polygroups here, and you can see the brush is moving along. So you can do a ton of things with this. You can create stitches, like high poly stitches with this way. You can do a number of different things, belts, straps, and there's tons of examples online everywhere, but this is a general idea. And the same creased edges, as you know, the crease along the thing, that will align it with that. So if I honestly wanted to split unmasked and then frame the brush itself, so if I did just hit crease edges, then it's going to draw all the strokes along those creased edges, and you get this monstrous amalgamation. I wouldn't recommend this, but if that's what you want, then that's what you got. Okay, that's beautiful right there. But you can see how that works. And same thing here, if you wanted to manipulate, because these are still active, it's still going to edit everything here. The strokes aren't deleted. I can edit that there. As long as they're active, it's still working. And let's see. But in general, for how I create brushes, I will draw it on the hair cap, as you can see in the tutorial, and then I will click on the model and then split unmasked over and over again, and you'll see me, and then use dynamic subdivision Control W, then backface mask on the move brush. Why is curve mode on? Okay, so I accidentally turned curve mode on for the move brush. Weird. But I don't need that. And polish my features to clean that up a little bit. Usually mask out the ends and then do that. That's the example. And then I will take this piece and then duplicate. And then to create like a patch, I will go underneath this and then have it like so. But this is a terrible example. You need to just kind of see it on a hair model, and so we'll go over that real quick. So what you want to do is draw the hair curve. Make sure there's no subdivisions. You see I get an error, delete or freeze. I never freeze, it always breaks, so I just use delete lower. Split unmasked. That's where it is. Now it's separate. Alt clicking to switch the tool. You get the first piece. Now I group it, so you saw it had groups there. I hit Shift F to show the groups, and I just hit Control W to make everything. And what you can do is mask the top part. Because there's some bumps here that I don't really like. I will mask out the ends because you don't want it to be interfered with your. Cause it can get weird. Polish. Make it a bit thicker on the end. So what I'm gonna do is go to move brush, backface mask, and pull out. Probably not change the end too much, but mostly just this part. I might mask this out. I made the brush the way it is for 3D printing. I used to do hairs with a hole in it, but now I for 3D printing I prefer to sculpt with one that has a closed hole. Backface mask on the end a little bit, make it slightly thicker. And then I'm going to go up to the top, and what I like to do is mask that out with mask lasso, and then alt click on the hairbrush, drag it out, and then rotate down, and that's how you get the how it goes into the head. I can see that more dramatically on other hair pieces, but so here I am moving the hair back with the move brush, and I'm noticing that I need to push the ends in, because when you look at where hair starts on the head, there is a bump. It's stiff-ish. There's a bend. Stick comes out of the head. There's an arc to it. And I'm looking here in solo mode and seeing that, oh, this needs a bit of polish. So I'm going to go and polish my features, of course. And looking at it from all the angles, moving at the move brush to match the hair cap. Here I am duplicating it to see what it looks like when there's two of them. Matching it together, and this is what technique I used to use with this, is I would make one underneath, and I still do this for most of the hair, but here I am testing it out and to see what the clump would look like at this stage. Then I can control rectangle, you switch between them. Or you can mask by PolyGroups. I don't really like to use this. I just find that it's easier to show people what I'm doing with this on, and also for myself. I have dynamic turned on. You don't want to use normal subdivisions. You want to use dynamic as a preview and not give it actual subdivisions. Also, I don't like to use. So sometimes I'll do. I only really use move brush and transpose tool. If you want, what I've seen other people do is to use the bend curve. You just go into the gizmo and then, oh sorry, center this. Then I don't really know how to use this tool. So unlock it, center it, then turn on bend curve here. And then from what I understand, you can add different places that it'll curve on, and then there's a tool we click on the little circles that we can rotate. I might try. I've just kind of looked at this. You can't have subdivisions. That's the thing about it, is like it'll tell you to delete subdivisions. But yeah, this is a pretty nifty tool. It looks like but be careful. The more you add, the weirder the results can be. Feel like I'm getting these like weird waves, and maybe you want that. Maybe you like those weird waves, but just keep in mind that's what I was playing around with it. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to use this, but it's kind of interesting. Looks like you can scale it much better than you could with move brush. I would only maybe do one here, and then if you want to like stretch it all the way down here. I mean, it's the same as stretching. There you go. That's a cool pipe right there. Perfect bangs. But no, I normally don't use that. You want to hit accept when you finalize that. So go to here, gizmo again, and then hit accept. Otherwise it won't be there. You can also delete it if you don't like it. Yeah, anyway, right now I'm establishing the base here. I kind of want to make it curlier, so the subdivisions here, usually if it's on normal hair basis I would delete as soon as I imported it, but because it's curly hair you want like more things that you can manipulate. For straighter hair I don't. You see how many less on the low, like see how spaced out the polygons are? Well, these are the curvier ones, they have more, but usually I will, for curly hair, I need that multiple resolution so I can get a nice wave to it. I want to start it here. I'm gonna delete the other one then. You don't want to, like, what I see sometimes people will do is they'll create this one. Okay, cool. I'm going to create a and like another hair piece. I'm going to draw another one out. Okay, and then I'm going to split a mask and do the same thing over and over again. You kind of don't want to do that. I would say for this piece, I maybe want to use like maybe 3 different pieces. So this, I might use this across the entire bangs. And then for this one, I might actually just duplicate this one and do that here. And the bag will definitely need a new one because it's so long. But when doing hair, you want to keep it simple as possible. And of course, with the flyaways, you can change that. Here, like how there's these like weird skinny pieces, like shooting up, and they're kind of blended in, but this I believe is one of these like stretched out across the entire back here, and it's manipulated to be different. This one is this piece here. It's all this is this. It's all the same piece, and this is a messy example, but you can see this one all the same piece except for that one. But those are the flyaways, that doesn't count. There's Jack, but I think he only has one. Otherwise maybe that one's different, but you can see like based off the geometry they're all very similar. For her, I think I did, of course, the bangs here and then this one, but yeah, only do 2, otherwise it can get really messy and then mess with you. Yeah, but I'm looking at I want to make the first one as decent as possible. Not perfect, but it has to be pretty good. So I'm looking at the reference. I see it's spinning here, but I kind of wanted to start up here too, so because there's no like reference for that there. So I mean, I'll look at fan art and whatnot, but like try to make this one as big as possible just to save yourself headache from making too many pieces, and also it'll look cleaner in the end as well. So like that, and then what you want to do is then mirror it. Actually, this is a good trick. So you see how, oh, I guess it has some, but what you want to do is, yeah, this is curving this way. Okay, let's mirror it back so I can show you better. See how it's curving like that? You want to do kind of the opposite, like this, to give some visual interest. It's better when you have like a full piece. It's easier to see. I only have 2 strands right now, but create this unique look that I think brings a lot of attention to the face. Why I'm good at hair is because yes, hair moves in these patches, but then there's this opposite effect that happens that I've always tried to include ever since I saw it in this one drawing. I'm like, oh, I don't know where the drawing is, but thank goodness for it because it made me realize how much better the hair looked when you include this. It's actually on my samurai eye. It's like there are these pieces on the drawing that I referenced. I don't know where the drawing is now, but let me show you. So it was on this guy, and this was the first one, yes, 5 years ago. So you can see here on the grayscale render, I like to do these kind of opposing shapes right next to each other. This gives it some sort of visual interest when you're doing hair on 3D. Yeah, it looks really good. Trust in the process. Go back into Zbrush and using mask lasso and masking at the end, all clicking on the mesh to position it on the endpoint, and then rotating it a little bit, and then mirroring and welding to kind of start getting the shape of the hair piece across the entire bottle. And then duplicating this one. I'm right now I'm getting a feel for the hair, and like I said earlier, you don't want to use more than 2 for each piece. So like right now I'm just gonna use the same one across the entire bangs and only adjust it slightly at the ends like you saw, because this gives it a more cohesive look. And of course hair does have flyaways, but then we'll cover that later. But for right now, we're trying to get the general shape, and this will really help us do that is by keeping it simple. And you can see I'm looking from different angles to get the overall shape, and like using that hair mat cap to really follow the flow of that mesh. You can see I'm just taking my time. I'm not going super fast. Hair is not like, oh, okay, done. How I did that is I just control drag and then release. So control, let go of control and then drag it. Control drag is how I make the duplicate. By the way, not the control drag, let go. Control, yeah. So you control, and when you let go is when it duplicates. Oop, let go, control, there you go. And take it very slow, big pieces. Honestly, for the back, I would even just use this. For the bangs here, just take this and squish it. Your time, rotate. Maybe use that bend curve. I don't like it. I think it's too unpredictable, and I already feel like I have enough predictability with my routine. I'm not gonna second guess myself for a tutorial. Like, oh yeah, use it if you find it interesting. There's a couple tutorials on it already. I'm showing you how to do it with my way and with move brush and smooth. Yeah, just smooth that out there. Unmask that out and smooth that, flip it. Polish my features, there you go. And occasionally what you want to do is hide these parts. It's gonna be a bit wild for a second, but you want to hide the hair so you can see like, okay, where it touches the mesh, so you can then push those in. You also dig deeper onto these, whatever with the damn standard. Okay, so when it gets stretched out like this, what you can do is go in with Zmodeler and insert different loops to get, because he has curly hair, so you're gonna need more subdivisions. So I'm gonna insert. Highlighting the edge, I hover over and click edge loop, hover over, spacebar, then insert right there. And click, then I'm gonna polish because see how it's all jinked. Also going this way, which hopefully won't be too much of a problem. Sometimes it is. But I also make it too thick that way, so what I can sometimes do is just mask the top layer and then like squish it underneath. Sometimes I'll just go in with the transpose too and then squish it that way. See, oh, that doesn't have the bend curve. Like, the bend curve's weird, okay? I just tried it. I don't like it. Like, look. When I go to add this... I'm just so scared of it doing that thing where it, like, scrunches up. I don't know, see the purpose of it. It's a fine tool. Let's do whatever you want. I'm gonna stick with these for now. I was thinking about using it for something else, like for mechanical parts, but I don't know. Polishing and pulling with the edge of the move, so that's what I think separates a good ZBrusher. Then is seeing that circle. You see the circle, that is the fall off. So you can see it up here, like the focal shift, and you're like, oh, like I never thought to use. I'm using the pressure of the outside to not dramatically pull. So I'm thinking, okay, you can also use AccuCurve too. I don't really think this is necessary for this one, but that just gives you like a sharper thing. But I want like a gentle pull there. What I might use a bit more harsh. Being on the left side, look up. Oh, getting all weird in here. You can also change the curve intensity, so you can see it's kind of harsh, and I sometimes don't like this on my stuff. The crease. The reason why I use the crease brush, and I should include this earlier, is I like the creases here. I like the look. I think it makes it more detailed without having to sculpt on top of it. I prefer this method because I think sculpting could get, like, on top of things could get way too annoying, way too fast. Especially if it's not like a game model and it's for your personal stuff. I would rather use something that's geometrically applied than something that's I have to like sculpt on. I mean, I might do it when I go to print, but that's about it. If it's just a sketch, and I like this look, the shape of this brush. That's why I made it. So now I'm going in and really looking at the geometry of this hair strand for the long piece. And what I'm noticing here is that there's some odd deformities and it looks kind of weird. So I'm going with polish by features on just that section, smoothing it out and pushing it and pulling it with the move brush. It's sped up here, but it's a very tedious process to get the strand looking right, and I wanted to speed through this, but it is very simplistic. I'm going with smooth brush or polish by features, like I said, and really perfecting that look and matching it to that hair cap like I talked about earlier, and rotating it from every angle like before. Same process, just fixing it, making it more interesting, less flat. You can see here I switched between the two. I think I wanted to go back to the bangs here, and now I'm switching between the two by clicking Alt on each hairbrush to switch between them fast, and duplicating the brush. Duplicating and then mirroring. I don't want it to be mirror and welded because it'll mess it up, so I don't do that. I just merge at the end. And why I merge at the end is because, as you can see, I showed with the mirror and weld, it kind of gives that merge effect. And while that is okay, I guess, it's not what I want. I want the things to be separate because it gives it a better look in my opinion. Here I am back to the bangs. And what I'm doing is matching it to that hair cap. This is a very complicated strand because it's curly. And so while there's a lot of variation in curly hair, it kind of does still follow the same structure as, say, like a shorter hair or straighter hair. So don't be afraid to apply those same rules across the two. You still have the basic shapes that you would in a normal hair. The strands are just curly. You can see I use the rotate on the gizmo to position, duplicate. The gizmo is one of the key movers in my process. Sometimes I'll use the move brush if I'm going fast, but if I want to be precise, I like to use the gizmo because you really see the increments at which I move it at. So here you can see I move it with the rotate, or there I move with the move brush, but usually I'll rotate with the gizmo to be very precise, because the move brush is it's good. It's based off camera angle for the most part, but with the gizmo, depending on which, not the white axis, but any other axis, you have a more precise control over that movement, and that can be really helpful for dialing down that specific look you want. Unless you know the move brush and Zbrush really well, I wouldn't recommend moving it that way because it can be kind of finicky. So keep that in mind. Here I am. I'm seeing that when I mirrored it, the end strand wasn't matching up to where I had it, where the end point is supposed to go for the bangs. Again, you still have like the same hairline that you would if you have bangs, you know this, but the hairline starts at the back, or like, you know, kind of at the top of the forehead, if that makes sense. You know what hairlines are, I'm not gonna explain that, but the bangs don't start from the middle of the forehead is all I'm trying to iterate. Or there's clumping in the back too. Like if you ever look at where they start, they're usually at the middle and they kind of go along the center line. It's a lot, but don't worry too much about it. And you don't have to get precise because a lot of people don't understand hair mechanics. So if you're not anatomically 100% correct, that's okay. We're in stylized, baby. We're allowed to exaggerate and have some fun. I'm kidding, of course. No, I'm not kidding. But there is some leeway with stylized, and you don't have to be 100% anatomically correct, like I said. But it's good to have lots of anatomy knowledge and lots of real-world knowledge, because that will help you figure out when things start looking off, because you understand that, oh, hair clumps, and hair has a lot of, you know, language that you can fix if you need. So I will be drawing the hair pieces now, and I'm going to not do it in symmetry. I'm start from here. These will be the back pieces. Get some more. Oh, and what you can do with the curve brush is, I don't really mess with these features, but you can lock end and lock start. So lock the start of it. So basically you can wiggle this as much as you want without the top moving. If you like that, you can click that off and lock the end and then just move the start. Oh, this didn't work. Click on the start. That's not supposed to happen. Oh, that's supposed to work. I also changed the curve off. So this is the brush that this is the width I like to use. You could go in and change this. Sometimes you want like a smaller end. You can see it change up here, and it changes with the once you click on it. But once you click off of the stroke, it's not going to change anything else. So once you're done, you're done. It's a destructive process, and yeah, just keep that in mind. Once you're done, you're done. And if you say click off, you say split unmask without getting rid of the stroke. So say you have like this left, you're like, oh, I don't know how to get rid of it. You go into stroke, curve, modify, where's delete? Delete, there you go. This is how you get rid of it. Sometimes when the brush gets like super thin like this, I'll just inflate the entire thing by like 1 or 2. Then take a smooth brush on the end slightly. I don't want to mess it up too much. It looks fine. Plus it's a very small detail, so that's how I get it super clean. And I'm going to take a backface mask again like I did earlier. Mask out the end, the start and the end. And I'm going to polish it. Like so. Yeah. Clean. Well, now we start the placement process. So here we go. Okay, so I actually went back and changed the width here. I think it's too thin at the bottom for this length of hair and how much I'm gonna be adding. So I also changed the brush size, and that affects it as well. I'll put that at the beginning so that makes sense there. Anyway, I usually changed up here because changing it with the S key doesn't really do anything. Well, I guess it does now, but sometimes it doesn't. So I go up here. So Zbrush decides to do work for me when I want it to. Okay, cool. Now I'm back to manipulating the placement of the hairpiece and, sorry, excuse me, the curls or waves in the hair texture. And I like to, do this to the first one and then duplicate it across because this will save you time. This is a very slow method. I'm using the move brush. I don't know how to do this otherwise. I'm making sure that I'm getting the plane of the mesh that I want, so it's not too wonky at certain points. So it's not completely clean at certain points, but I think some variation is okay. Especially, as we're making a tutorial and kind of going fast. This would be the first mock-up of hair as well. In some cases, you are, as a 3D artist, you don't have to make things perfect the first time or the first 10 minutes. And I think some people forget that, and they have to feel like, or they feel as if their piece, if it's not looking right immediately, that it's wrong. And it's a dialogue that you have with the model. And unlike with 2D where a piece is not supposed to take you that long, 3D pieces take a long time no matter how good you are, and you should be forgiven for taking too long on something. So don't spend too long that you're gonna go insane. Pieces, especially like the big, beautiful, giant pieces that you see on my ArtStation or anyone's, they can take months to make. 2 months or however long, or if it's in a week, it's usually done in crunch. And I don't think this is talked or shown enough about. But if you see something that's super detailed, is up to perfection, that it's taken a long time, at least for them to get there, if they're fast, or if they are, or it's taking them a lot of hours outside of work, especially if it's a personal piece, or even if the work pieces that they make, there is a lot of time that's been put into crafting these pieces. And you can see here I'm mirroring like I did before with the bangs, but I'm, you know, maybe I'm looking at this right now, like on the doing the voiceover. I'm like, I don't really like those. Oh, I'm fixing it right here, but I don't really like that way that's creasing right there. I wish it, you know, smooth it out with a smooth brush, and it's kind of looking there. And I'm like going back and forth between using Control Z, and it's this dialogue that you have with the mesh. And oh, here I'm auto grouping because I don't like the ends. I think I want to put them together. Or I'm looking at all the angles, and you take your time with this. This is not meant to be super fast. I mean, there are challenges that are speed sculpts, but this is not the time for that. So my initial thought here was to duplicate these strands to use as the front long hair pieces, but as you can see here, I start to duplicate it, and I look at how much I'll have to tweak it, and I go, I think it'll just be better to redraw it, because yes, I could spend a while tweaking it, but I think in this case it would be faster and not too much of a problem to create this from scratch. And you can see me finishing up the strand as you're able to, when you still see that dotted line, you're able to still edit the curve in Zbrush, so that helps a lot for manipulating it in this. So normally if I was doing straight hair, for example, and I had these pieces, either try to make them bigger and get rid of some of the edge loops, or I would go in with demodeler, which is my 0 key, and I just alt click along this to get rid of the different edge loops that I don't need. For a little quick rambling, why I don't need as many edge loops on straight hair is because, well, unlike with curved hair, you need to have, there's more deformation, manipulation. You need to have more edge loops to manipulate, and it's helpful. You can, I showed it a couple times, but throughout this video, but it really does make a difference with the curly hair because it, you know, like it needs to bend in all these different ways, and like at this tip right here, or as you can see, I'm just moving with the move brush right here, and I wouldn't be able to do this with just a straight piece. So you do need a certain amount of edge loops. You can optimize this a bit further later on, but for now, since we're trying to go quickly, I would still need more edge loops. And again, there's dynamically subdivided, so these aren't like actual subdivisions. And so you can see at the top, the dynamic button is turned on. I just hit D on the keyboard. There's no subdivision. It's all a preview basically. Now I'm back on the long hair pieces, and if my cat won't step on the keyboard, I can finish talking. Please back up, Samuel. And you can see here I'm using the gizmo and I'm locking it into the center. Actually, no, I'm using bend curve now. Again, because I was curious on the tool itself, and I thought maybe I could use it to kind of get a scrunched look or twisted, and I was able to a little bit. It's still not a tool I'm familiar with it, but I know a lot of people do use this tool to great use. But there are some instances like here where it's kind of getting squished that I'm not happy, I'm not mad with. I'm still unsure of this tool, but I just wanted to show you possibilities, and you know, I'm still learning as well. And I, in this case, didn't really like the tool, but I did see it's a use for it in some cases. I think it's a very clean use. Also, if you want to keep the thing, you hit accept on the gizmo at the top of your gear icon. Here I am. Oh, I do accept it. I do leave it. Okay. Well. There you go then. I'm recording a voiceover right now, so this is all like added in post-lit because at this point I was very concentrated and I felt like I had explained enough. So this is me talking over and polishing my features again and cleaning up those messiness. And I'm, you know, every hair is a new challenge. It's a new opportunity to explore my style or explore different characters. There's always a new challenge and I look forward to every single one. I'm going into a bit of a ramble, but it is there's no like one definition for every hair. The one thing I would have to say that is key is that if things are looking too messy and things are looking too much, like everything's like exploding, like the hair is just like flying away. I see this a lot of time on beginners. I would say your overall shape of the hair has some issues. So you know, right now it's still very calm, like the hair, it's not, you know, the final stage of the process, but you can see how I'm still kind of keep it all together because hair does clump. Hair isn't just, unless like, you know, you're a static electricity ball. Hair is this, you know, your keratin with oil, and they tend to follow a certain rhythm, and I think that if you lose that rhythm or you lose that overall general shape, that the language that you wanted to convey can get hectic. So like, even though I am using individual strands, I'm also thinking about the overall cohesiveness of the hair. And if I wanted to do like, say, if like one of the hair pieces breaks off and does whatever, but there's still an overall movement and language to that. And I've talked about this before, but like later on when I pose the hair, so like with TposeMesh, that's later in the video, you're able to see that I will try to move things in patches, and that is because like the bangs will move on a different way because there's the, you know, they're on the forehead, or maybe something's tucked behind the ear, or maybe some like the back hair pieces, they're gonna have they're brushing against the back, so they might, or someone might put their hair over their shoulder. There's so much similar to eyebrows, like there's a lot of communication that happens with hair that I don't think a lot of people can appreciate. Also, flyaways are a great example of like how messy is this hair, or how kept is this person, how well groomed, and how do they how they express themselves. There's a lot of secret meaning, and I'm going a bit too artistic with it, but it is very interesting to me how people like to convey hair and how like to convey it for a certain character. There's a lot of different things you could do with it, and also to make it look good. I think that a lot of it is like, you want to look at something from backed up, right? You want, when you zoom out, you want to be like, oh, that's really good, even if like just as much as when you're zoomed in, that you're like, oh, that's not like super zoomed in like I just did there, but when you're close enough, you're like, oh, from like this angle, you know, it's still a work in progress, but you're like, nothing's like super broken at this point. Nothing's, you know, I'm still following the shape of the hair cap I spent so long on the beginning, and taking my time to make sure that all these look great. So like now I'm going back to this piece, I'm like, this might need some more edge loops, because I'm not able to manipulate it like when I was talking with the like straight hair, like that's works fine if it was just straight, but I'm doing a bit of a curly version. Like there's, you know, based off different fan arts, based off of Miro's, I believe that's Kento Miro's drawings. He had like very curly haired Griffith in some of his, but it varied. Like the anime, it's not as curly. I wanted to do a little bit of both. I wanted to do some of, you know, mixed. I think it's up to the artist to convey what they wish. And yeah, I mean, this is a good thing to do, is to hide the hair cap, because I'm starting to see like, okay, so without the mesh, this is what's going to look like. So I'm going to start to see, I'm clumping these together, the ends. So I'm hiding with like selecting, masking out the one brush with like Control Shift, click on it, and then mask out that one. And then, well, now I'm duplicating, but when I will, what this does is it creates this sense of, you know, like the overall shape that I was talking about earlier. That's really important, because it just makes it look better. And that's what hair does, is it clumps on the ends. It doesn't, not every piece, when someone brushes your hair, not every piece is going to be like, so if you had long hair, for example, if when you brush it, it's not, you know, pieces are going to clump together at the ends, pieces are going to be going either which way. And I think that is something that a lot of people miss, and so I wanted to show that part of the process, and also show like how long this takes too. I'm going on a rant right now, but I wanted to fill time, and like, because there's so much to hair and it can feel overwhelming for sure. And like when I get people's pieces to sculpt over, I have one on my channel by someone in my Discord that I did, but it's kind of the same thing I talk about here, where I will have this mesh, right? I'll have this like hair cap to guide me, because things can get messy fast, and it's good to have references, it's good to have the cap, it's good to take breaks as well. For sure, I always come back, like, you know, working on this, I wanted to change Griffith's face even more. Like, there were some things like with the ears that I need to tweak, and because here with these tutorials you're only allowed, I would say, an hour, or not allowed, but this is the time I've given myself to, you know, go over with you. And like, I think it gives like a good general view, but it's not enough. Sculpting takes time, and it's not hard, but it is a bit labor intensive compared to 2D, but both have their ups and downs. There's no right or wrong again. Art is tedious and takes time, and that's okay, because shows exist that you can put on in the background. I watched a lot of True Blood and Supernatural recently, so those are the ones I've been on. But again, take breaks. Go on a walk. I like to. This is TMI, but I like to walk without headphones on sometimes and think about, like, what did I do wrong in this sculpt? Or I'll open it on my iPad for a different screen, or I'll post onto like a secret Twitter where I see the flaws. Like, whenever you post to like social media, you always see like the flaws, right? So I have a secret Twitter that has no followers, it's private, whatever, and I'll post it there. I'm like, and I'll look at it later and I'll be like, oh, that's what I did wrong. And I haven't done that as much recently, but these are some of the things I used to do when I was starting out too, because I struggled a lot in the beginning, like everyone else, and that's what helped me. So I'm telling you now, so thank you for listening. So I might have skipped a bit of recording, but the only thing I think I added differently was, I think I used one of the bangs to create this hair swoop in front of the face, like near the cheek area, because I thought it would maybe frame the face a bit more. And I think I saw it in some fan art, or I think I'm just used to adding this kind of thing. And if you look at what I've added since then, I don't know why I didn't record, but I haven't really done much. I've kind of just duplicated and finagling, like you see here with the move brush. It's, again, it's still the same slow process. There has been some mirroring, so I've mirrored across the mesh, but that's really it. There hasn't been much change. I mean, again, you can see that some of the forms follow better. The back of the ears are tucked in. There is a bald spot there, but that summarizes that. I will now be going into the flyaway tutorial. One of the things I recommend you do when you want to make flyaways is that you might want to take one of the other strands you have and you can shrink it. I can show you that real quickly, but you just want to Control Shift duplicate the mesh, and then you can shrink it, what have you. So You can stretch it. This is a very fast example. But another thing I recommend you do is, oh, here I am placing it, following the mesh. But what I recommend you also do is you could say merge visible. So if I hit merge visible, then I'm going to get a separate subtool and that here with that, and then I'm gonna hide this pieces, Dynamesh, kind of like what you would do if you were to sculpt on top of this or brush pieces. But what you can do is then use this as a guide. You can see what I did with this one here. I just created one split mask, because hair, if you lose a piece of hair, it'll, you know when you have baby hairs on your bangs, sometimes hair breaks and like they'll have different lengths. They're not as many, but it does happen. So also just creates visual interest. Or maybe it's this piece that's been pushed back here. Its hair is very interesting, and you can do a lot with it. That's how I created that piece. Then I can like move it however which way. Actually, I only need one or two, and you can create these like really interesting groups of flyaways. Honestly, I would turn this one this way and polish my features. There you go. That's how I would do that. And you can hide the hair cap, and then there you go. That's a flyaway for you. You get into more, let's say this one, like the shorter hair is going to have a bit more chance of flyaways. So what I would do is I would take one of these and squish it and manipulate it around. I would look at some references too, but this is the fun part. Oh, and I like to create this interest here, so I'm going to, by doing that, I see all these are going in the same direction this way. Well, there's this one that's going that way, but I may want the flyaway to go this way, curve the other way. So I'm gonna take it and gently move it. It's gonna get a little bit twisted, hopefully not too much. And I want to make it skinny because flyaways are usually a single strand that's gone awry. And you can see I am selecting that one with Control Shift rectangle, really making it skinny. I'm going kind of fast, but this is a fast tutorial, despite it being an hour long. There you go. Oops. Yeah, you want to make these really skinny because it's a flyaway. It's not a clumps. It's like a cowlick almost. You know, those strands of hair that just won't follow in. Very natural. I guess you could say supernatural. I'm kidding. Haha. But yeah, you can see it like on this reference here, like how these pieces go here. I mean, there's just so much. I mean, I'm using a couple different references, but this is one of them. But you see how it's only a one strand or a couple. Again, I'm not doing hyper realism, so I'm not gonna go into each one, but I think some is good. And so if I wanted to actually create even a shorter strand like I did on Griffith, I will select this one, and since I duplicated the other ones, I duplicated the patch, I am now creating like you saw in Griffith. It's getting kind of messy, so I will do the thing I always do, which is I mask the ends out and then polish my features. Cool. Sticks up a little bit. Maybe this one's mirrored. Have fun with it. It's your world is your oyster. World is whatever you want it to be. I don't think it sticks up enough from the hair shake. I'm still working on this one, but I wanted to do it with you, show you my thought process. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, okay, yeah, that's a good angle there. But in terms of like general patch here, I'm still debating on it. Like, do I want it to be pushed down more? I have too much volume for me at the moment to mirror. And then you can also use these in the back. And just do a cute one here. Ta-da! Wait. This is really what you shouldn't do. You should use the gizmo. But for blocking stuff in, I figured I would try to go fast. Looks like he's got a antenna. Okay, I am locked in. There's too much. This one needs to be moved down. These ones are curve it a little bit. But the flyaways, it can be as crazy as you want. I'm gonna follow a little bit with the hairline because there is gravity applied to it as well. Like this one is just straight vertical. Yeah, look at rear refs. Really try to hone that in. And if you don't find any refs, maybe some other fan art will have it. There's bound to be something, or maybe you gotta Google image search. But there's a reference for every hairstyle. And if you can't, just like make your best guesstimate. It won't be flogged. People usually don't look too harsh at the hair. If it looks good, it looks good. If it, you know, doesn't, then it's okay. So to get into hair posing in Zbrush, you kind of want to have, well, of course, your pose in mind. But if you have all of these strands separate like I do right here, there's, well, one method you could do first is to merge by visible by first hiding everything. So by first hiding the body, everything that's not the hair, you can merge visible, and then that will all be one piece. So if I insert it here, hide the folder with the hair, see now how it's all merged, and then I can start posing. This is one way to do it for sure. I do this in a quick situation if I wanted to merge it all and divide it up midway through the process, not have to go through and merge everything. Sometimes I want to have groups of the different strands, but for now I want to go over another way to pose, which is the way I prefer to do it when I have separate pieces. So I'm going to do a rough pose. This is a bit cleaner, but I'm going to attempt it from the T-pose to show you how to go about it. I'm going to go to Z plugin, which is up here, and I popped it over here, and you want to hit TposeMesh, and what it's going to do is make sure everything is showing all the subtools, so if something is hidden it won't work, but you'll get like an error. So make sure everything is showing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to wait for it to do its little magic, and you'll see that everything is in the low poly stage. So I would recommend you do this if you have a low res version of each thing. If not, it can slow it down if you have higher poly meshes with no subdivisions, because it's just how this tool works. So what this allows you to do is sort of, without using rigging, you can move things around, or sorry, without having to merge things, you can move things around without having to merge them. Because, let's see, you're just moving the low polys. If I want to, let's say, grab the head, so I'm selecting things, of course, with the rectangle and the mask Lasco, but I'm going to Ctrl-Shift-X, grow that. This is gonna be very messy because I'm trying to go fast, but I think it bends from the neck here. Hold on. Let me grab the hair as well. And then grouping it all as one piece. Rotating it just the head area, and you can see how it works. Like so. You can, of course, smooth it out in the low. It's the same way in the regular ZBrush, so you're just forced to use the low, which I think is pretty good. And again, be careful of this, because this can break if you, like, say, bring it into another program and then bring it back, because if you move certain vertices or delete certain vertices, it corrupts it, and you get this like very it's called a vertex explosion, I think is what it's called, and it gives this very weird error, and I can put that on the screen. So just keep it in ZBrush and keep it as a sort of a messy way to pose, and I'm going to show you how I pose the hair, or how I've done it in the past and how I still do it. But now I could group just the back pieces here. So I just hit auto group, and then now I'm Control Shift rectangle on these pieces, and I can then mask this part out and then swoop this over the side. So I can flip the mask here, bring it all back, and then flip it again. And you can see how I can then manipulate. This is kind of too big of a patch, but I'm trying to go fast and show you an example. But you want to take your time with this and really think about like which ones you want to move. And this doesn't have to be the end either. As I said before, in Zbrush you want to kind of have your end pose in mind with the hair sculpting process, because once you draw like a stroke out, it's solidified. It's a very destructive process. And like with Blender's curves, which you can, which the curve is still there, like the Bezier curve. I don't know if anyone uses that here, but Zbrush, once it's there, it's there. So let me show you after I hit T pose, whatever, this one to bring it. So this will bring it all back now. Hopefully there was nothing hidden on the other pieces. You can see it's turning the head, turning the hair pieces. Cool. Okay. And so if you're getting some weird stretching here and you're not taking your time and you want to like redo this, what I recommend doing is, well, again, you could fix these strands. So you can go in, like I showed earlier, like fix this, polish by features, fix if there's like weird bumps and whatnot. But you can also, what I like to sometimes do is I'm going to merge by visible again to show you merge visible. You can just merge certain strands or whatnot, but I'm impatient. So I'm going to insert all that hair piece again. And then I'm going to inflate, then Dynamesh. Oh, it doesn't crash. Oh gosh, okay. Okay, so that's 4 million, that was too high. Smooth, re-Dynamesh. And then I can take the hairbrush and then draw another, redo it if you wanted to. I've done this a couple times, not really a lot. I tend to just take the hair posing slow, but if this is a way to do it too. And this is also a way if you're unhappy with the first hair sculpt that you did. So even in the symmetry one here, you can take, oh, I posted, that's why. You can take what you have and like Dynamesh it and then redraw over that and use that as a guide. Oh, and for the final thing I talked about earlier is beards. I want to quickly go over that for this guy. So what I do is I like to mask out, say where it's going to be, then extract, maybe lower the thickness a little bit. And when you rig it, so right now this is more for illustration, but for rigging, you kind of want to match the geometry underneath so there's not any problems with the rigging. Like you want to match the vertices up with each other on the, like say like the hairline or like with the beard. But for now, I'm kind of roughing it out and for the sake of an illustration. So I'm inflating just a little bit. And what I like to do is, let's see, Dynamesh it too. And then Control D up. And I'll take like GeoBrush, Stamp Standard, what have you. And you're just trying to create the illusion of the transition between the two. And if you saw on the one I had here, that there, I might put some strands, like paint some strands here, especially if it's only a little bit, because I don't like to use the ZBrush like in-house groom stuff. I think it doesn't match the style that I'm going for, and I can show you actually another beard I did. So in this one, I did a bit more painting on the beard and like go the flat color. Let's flat color. You can see I did a lot of transition strokes here and also made sure to dig in like with where the beard line is. But yeah, that's how I do beards. Oh, and one more thing I like to on my models now is I like to add a little bit of hair highlight. So I'll take the color, I'll hit C, go a bit lighter, or maybe some more saturated colors. That's a bit, might be like this one. No. You're white. Anyway, I like to add these hair highlights and paint those, and they get really detailed sometimes. Like on this one, you can see I did like a nice purple here, and it varies across the hair pieces, so each one has a different, it's not just straight across like so, it's not just a line, it's a bit of a wavelength almost. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I had a lot to explain, a lot to go over, and I wanted to really encapsulate everything that I think about when I pose or when I sculpt hair. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. I would like to thank my Patreon supporters without whom these wouldn't be made at all. And if you would like to join us, we have a Discord with a lot of community, and I post feedback and would love to have you over there. So thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of this process. Also, I would like to thank my sponsor for this video, G Fuel. And you could use Chloe Worthy Art for 10% off on your G Fuel order. I know it's crazy that I have a G Fuel sponsor. I know, right? But I am so thankful and have tried their product and really enjoy it. And so if you would love to support